3, 2.
Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Chica.
And I'm Miss B. And this is Untamed Thoughts. Hey, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in again this week. So excited that you came back. Listen, Chica, happy birthday, girl.
Thank you, friend.
How was your birthday?
I had an amazing birthday. I really did.
Wow.
Very blessed.
And your birthday was on
Easter.
Easter?
It was.
Oh, my goodness. Did you have a great time?
I did.
Okay. Did you spend it with family?
I spent it with all my loved ones, and I couldn't have asked for anything more.
Oh, that's wonderful. Mm-hmm. Those little ones that are so cute.
My nieces and nephew are the best.
I know
They really are. They're the cutest.
And they grow so fast.
Too fast. Really.
So, did you think about our topic today? Because I try not to call Chica up to the time of the show because I want to talk and we got to talk to you guys. Yes. So, hopefully you guys talk back to us because we've got a topic today that's very interesting. And I think that all of us can relate to this topic in some way. Yeah. So, we're going to be talking about situationships. I think that's kind of a crazy topic, though.
It is, because this show can go anywhere. It can go 100 different ways.
Yeah, I agree because I was asking people up until this show their viewpoint on what a situationship is. Because I said before, I'm a little old schoolish when it comes to certain things. So the whole idea of a situationship just doesn't make sense to me because a situation is a word that to me is not very positive, right? So to me, it's just not a positive word all the time because if you're in a situation, it usually means that you need something to happen to get you out of something, right?
Hence why it's called situationship.
Oh, that's my goodness. But I did ask a few people and they were so kind to answer me. One of the young ladies said, if you could throw up that first picture. One of the young ladies said that a situationship is a little more than a friend with benefits. And the other person said a situationship is the new relationship. So
unfortunately, that's true.
Is it true? And go ahead.
These days, that is more common than ever before. That's for sure.
Why do you think it's more common, though?
I think it's common because people, in my opinion, are not in a rush to settle down as much as they once were.
Why?
We are in a busy era. It's for many reasons. People are busy. There's women and men are more easily accessible. So people just want to date. They want the excitement, the fun without the headache of being in a relationship and committing to somebody.
You pose an interesting thought. We're more accessible. You can find situations everywhere. With the onset of the internet, we can definitely find situations everywhere. They're online with online dating, social media, like we talked about last week.
Yes.
Literally, you can be walking down the street and find yourself in a situation, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's something that I think that everyone can relate to. Even though I don't really like that term, I tend to agree with the young lady who said that a situation is just simply the new relationship. Because relationships, these days, in our experiences as women, tend to not be as solid. There's no glue to them. There's always one or more people in the relationship, one or more persons in the relationship that doesn't really want to be there.
Yes.
Why do they stay though?
Because they can. Because they can. See, that's the thing. You can have a situationship with somebody. You could sit there and say, I do care about you. I do like you. But I'm not ready for a relationship. XYZ. I work a lot. this going on, that going on. But that's code for don't want to be with you like that. And I want to see other people.
Okay.
Not always, but a lot of the time. I want to do what I want to do without having to explain or answer to somebody.
I think that's fair. I think that's
Think
fair.
so?
I think that's fair because as I was talking to these young ladies, I'm really trying to figure out why do we stay in situations like that? Why is it that we don't value ourselves enough to get into a relationship with someone who values us as well? You know, the thought of it just being easier to me is just kind of, BS. Like I tell my grandkids, BS is bad stuff. So I kind of want
like that.
It's just BS. It's bad stuff. It's not really good because you're telling yourself, you're telling the person that you're with that it's okay that you're not committed to me. It's okay that I see you at dinner with someone else. It's okay that
I see you once a month or
like you call me at 11 o'clock and now you can see me, you can come by. We actually open ourselves up to these situations where we are complaining about to each other on a daily basis, but we allow it.
Yeah.
We allow it.
The problem is with situations like that, there's always one person that feels more, that cares more, that loves more. And more often than not, it's usually us females. And we always think, you know what, if we hang in there, they're going to come around. They're going to realize how amazing they are and how they can't see their lives without us.
Right, how they can't live without us, right?
Yeah, they're just going to magically open their eyes and like, what am I doing? Absolutely. I have this woman and she's amazing. And usually that is the case.
That's the truth. That's the truth because we're pretty amazing.
We are.
Sis, you're pretty amazing. We're all amazing.
Yes.
And you know what I like to, let the young ladies who actually come to me and ask me questions, I always tell them to remember that they're always the prize. They're always the prize. I don't care where you find yourself in life.
You are the prize.
You are the prize. You are the prize. Yes. And it's not a boastful type thing, but just like men add to us, because we do, we love to have a nice looking man, a gentle man, a kind man, an understanding man, a faithful man, a truthful man, God-fearing man. We like to have all of that next to us. They want the same things in us. We provide that to them. So guess what? We're the prize.
I mean, we have to speak life into ourselves and know our worth. And how can you expect somebody to know your worth and think you're amazing when you're just accepting the situationship? And we've all been there. There's no judgment here. We have all, in one time of our lives, most of us been there, for different reasons. Yeah.
I certainly have. And I think that one of the reasons why we are in these situations is because sometimes we don't even know that we're in a situationship.
That does happen. In our
we
heads,
have no idea.
That is my man.
That's my man.
You can't tell me any different.
My man.
Okay.
I think that we don't always know because, the pillow talk, the talking on the phone till wee hours of the morning. The young people today, they don't even hang up the phone. They fall asleep.
And they'll bring you around the whole family and everything.
Absolutely.
So, and especially when you love this person, you're like, he's bringing me around his family. He's bringing me around his friends. He's taking me out. He tells me what's going on in his world. This is my man. This is my man.
Yeah.
But
that bringing
does
around
he think you're
family,
his woman?
But ladies, listen, that bringing around the family thing, let me tell you something about that. The family knows already who is the one.
Family always knows.
Yeah. They always know. Sometimes the family's a little extra. I'm giving my girls a little hint here. Sometimes the family could be a little extra. If they're a little extra, give old boy the side eye. They're a little extra. If they're very comfortable with you and you really feel a part of the family, that's probably real. I mean, we can never tell. We can never tell. But in my experiences, because that's all I got is my experiences, right? And the experiences of those that talk to me on a regular basis. When they go around the family and the family is real extra, You know,
Yeah.
the next time that they talk to the chick on the side, they tell them, yeah, I met their family too. I mean, it's just a thing that happens, you know. Know your mate, know your mate, know your mate. And if you're in one of these situationships, you know, what do you do? What do you do? I must go on record though. I have to tell you guys, I don't want to be in nobody's situationship, first of all. But there is one person that I would be in a ship.
Oh, here we go.
A ship.
Here we go.
Whatever the word you want to put before that, I will be
ship.
in it. Any ship with this person. And Chica, can you guess who that is?
The love of your life.
And who might that be?
That's Genuine.
Genuine.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. I love Genuine. And listen, I want you guys, don't be coming on here telling me Genuine fell off the stage.
I sent her that video. She was so mad.
I was very upset because, first of all, had I been there,
oh, she would have caught him.
I would have caught him.
Like, come here, baby.
I mean, I went to a concert of his in Staten Island, and he got to singing to me. I showed you the picture.
Oh, he's saying right to you.
Okay, I showed her the picture, and he asked me.
Nobody else there.
He asked me if there was any more room for him in my jeans, and I said, of course, yes. Yes, yes, yes. But seriously, we get into these situations. And we really are into the person. We really are into the person. And we get introduced as, hi, everybody. This is Chica. This is Miss B. We don't get a title. We don't get anything.
No.
We get nothing.
I want that title.
I know you
play
do.
in my face. You know, that's one thing you're not gonna do.
I know you.
I don't play.
I know you do.
And it's like, we're gonna have definition here. I need to know what this is.
I hear you.
See, but the whole thing is, and I'm sorry to cut you off,
no
because
problem.
this just
Please.
pops in my head. What men don't realize is, and there are women that do this too. Because I'm not putting this all on men. Because there are women out there that don't want anything serious.
Yes.
But
True.
a lot of times, if you kept it real and were honest and said, look, this is what it is, the woman might just deal with it. She'd be like, okay, like if you give them the option, not all the time, but a lot of times they'd stay. They'd be like, all right. Even though, you know, in our head, we're like, okay, you're going to fall in love with me.
Yeah, we tend to do that.
But yes.
But we tend to create these scenarios in our head that aren't real.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why we do that is because you mentioned playing in your face. A lot of men do that.
Yes.
A lot of men do that. They lure you in. And women, we do that too.
Yes.
I can't say anything about the brothers that we can't say about ourselves because, you know, there's a phrase my mother used to say, you got to give to get, right? Talking about respect and, you know, understanding and love and all of these things. And sometimes the man just don't trust you. So instead of them getting into a full-on relationship with you, they kind of call themselves getting to know you because, you know, they done heard some stuff. You know, we all have a past. Hey, listen, we all have a past. We went through school, you know, we went through college, some of us. Gone through life. So sometimes they might run into your past and they don't quite trust you. So instead of committing to a relationship, which that word commitment, I have my own views on that, and we're going to save that for another show. But instead of giving you a commitment, they would much rather just interact with you on a very, very casual basis.
Low effort basis.
Low effort. But the benefits that they get, I think is unfair to the person who's looking for a relationship, looking for something that's going to lead somewhere. You know, I think a lot of us forget that most of us are not just dating because we look good. But, well, no, some people date because the person on their arm looks good. I can't even make that statement. I was getting ready to say that, but no, some of us
just like you would date Genuine just because they look good.
Just because, and he's saying to me, let's not forget, he's saying to me that is a good start. If you can sing to me. So anyway, I'm just wondering, how can we start the conversation with young women and young men? You know, a lot of us old gals and dudes are set in our ways and we just don't want the drama. So we would just rather have companionship and nothing really serious. You know, we just rather just kind of kick it, you know, instead of having something serious. Those are situationships,
But that seems to
right?
be the norm these days, and I don't know where things change,
Mhm.
but it's, there are a lot of people in happy relationships,
Mhm.
but the percentage of people that are not truly committed to somebody, that see somebody, multiple people, and there are people who have situationships with more than one person. That's a
Chica,
fact.
that is a fact. But I kind of think that that's like a cop out, because that's the reason why a lot of people, I believe, tend to have these situationships so that they can kind of do them.
100%.
And then you say something about maybe something you heard or maybe something you saw, and it's like, but we're not in a relationship, so why do you care? That's gotta crush a girl or crush a guy.
Oh yeah.
Particularly one that thinks that they're in a relationship.
You're absolutely right. How about we take a short break?
Okay.
And come back and continue this.
Now listen, when we come back, guys, we're going to have the phones open.
Yes.
The number will be flashing across the screen. If you want to chat with us, if you want to give us a call, go ahead. Talk back to us. We like that. See you in a bit.
See you in a bit.
Welcome to Paradise Content Creation Studios, where your creativity finds its perfect home. Imagine a space where innovation meets inspiration at every corner. Our state-of-the-art facilities are designed to transform your ideas into extraordinary realities. Whether you're crafting cinematic masterpieces or viral content, we have it all covered. Join a community of creators who dare to dream and push the boundaries of possibility. With cutting-edge technology and a passionate team, your projects are destined for greatness. Step into a realm where every detail is meticulously crafted for your success. At Paradise Content Creation Studios, unleash the power of your imagination and watch it soar.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
It's Chica.
Miss B and Untamed Thoughts.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Listen, we were talking about situationships and how is that related to the traditional relationship? Because I'm telling you right now, it's different. I think it's different. I think it's different, but I think it's kind of on the verge of becoming one. Situationship and relationships.
How so?
Because there's so many. I think I hear more people talking about situationships than I do relationships. I don't hear much of, oh, my girl, this is my girl. I hear this is Chica. And I hear this is Miss B. I don't really hear anyone. Even the girls are doing it. Whereas we used to be like, oh, this is my man, this is my boyfriend.
It's because everybody's trying to normalize it, make it seem like it's okay. And this is the new standard. You know what? We're going to test this out, do all the things that relationships do behind closed doors. And, I'll take you out once in a while. You will meet my family, be around my friends, but I'm not ready for a relationship.
But I'm not ready for a relationship.
I have a lot going on. I work a lot. I play sports. I do this, I do that. I just can't.
Right.
I just don't have the time to commit to a relationship, or I just got out of a serious relationship, so I'm not ready to jump into another. There's so many different reasons and excuses why people validate.
I like that. Excuses.
Yes.
Excuses.
Yes.
Let's talk about excuses.
That's exactly what it is. Let's be real.
Because you can't give me a valid reason why you would rather be in a situationship. I can't see why you would rather be in a situationship than to put a little bit extra into building something with someone in a relationship that leads to that committed place of marriage. I mean, yeah, we forgot about that little committed place of marriage. We don't date for marriage anymore.
No,
we don't. We don't.
I mean, how many weddings have you been to in the past 5 years? How many weddings have you honestly been to in the past 5 years? I don't think I've been to one.
And they were happening
I've
every
actually
weekend.
been to one wedding in 5 years. Nope, I take that back too.
And they were happening like every weekend.
Yes,
at
back
one
in the
point.
day, I felt like you were going to weddings every weekend. And it's just the desire to, I'm not saying nobody wants to settle down because people do want that, but there's just no sense of urgency. Like years ago, that's what we did. You know, you get to a certain age, and if you're 30 years old and you are not married or on your way, something's wrong with you. That's how
that was the
society
view.
looked. That's how it was.
That was the view.
But
Yeah.
nowadays we have options. We have tons of options.
Options.
We are living our best lives. People are having kids late. That's another thing. Women are having children way later in life. You know, women have careers. Men, everybody has a small business. Everybody is an entrepreneur. Everybody has so many things going on. So relationships oftentimes have taken a backseat.
And shout out to all the sisters and brothers out there that have true lives. They live in. They're living. They have all
As you
these
should.
wonderful things going
As you
on.
should.
Like my hat is off to you.
Yes.
I really think that's a great thing for this season of life that we're in. So many different things are happening that we have to maintain our independence and you know, our strength and all of those things that make us who we are. So shout out to you.
Yes.
A fun fact, if we could put up number 3, fun fact about relationships. And then I want you to expound on this, Chica.
Okay.
Because, you know, I like to find a few facts here and there.
Uh-huh.
You know, and this one says the average relationship duration is around 2 years and 9 months. That's the average relationship duration. Okay. Another fun fact. I mean, it just baffles me. Number 4, another fun fact. It says that studies indicate that approximately 70% of straight, unmarried couples break up within the first year.
70% out of how many, though? That's what I want to know.
You know what? Science, because they have these trials. Nobody asked you, did
Nobody
they?
asked me.
You know what? You know what? I'm going to type something
Thank
up
you,
and
because
tell
nobody
them.
came to me and said, hey, we're doing a study and we want you to be a part of it. So 70% of how many people?
Listen, if anybody out there, you know, wants to chime in on that point.
Yes.
That 70% of straight unmarried couples break up within the first year. Why is this happening? Why is that happening? Why can't we stay together? What's
have
going
a little
on?
insight on that.
Tell me why. But before you tell us, if you want to call in, the number is on the screen, 516-945-9099.
Give us a call. We'd love to hear from you.
You want to hear from me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I just feel that, and I don't really talk on many people's shows, so you're very privileged right now.
Well, thank you.
We are.
But,
Male perspective.
I think that today's day and age, everybody's always looking for something better. Everybody thinks that, oh, yeah, she's cool, but I'm not crazy about this thing about her. Or I don't like what he does. And everybody's always looking for perfection. And we're inundated every day with social media pics of, quite honestly, most of the pics are fake. They're altered in some way or one way or another. But back in the day, I always tell people this, is before all this social media stuff, when you went about your day, you're lucky if you saw maybe one really beautiful girl. Okay? Now you pick up your phone and there's like 30 in a minute and a half.
Yes.
And that's not real beauty. Those are photos.
Right.
And a lot of them are doctored. And those are photos that were staged. We've all done it. We can take 30 pictures and we'll pick that one that looks so good.
I do it all the time.
But the 29 other really weren't that flattering.
Yeah.
And, you know, everything we see today is not necessarily what we really are seeing. And I just think today everybody's looking for something better. Everybody says, oh, yeah, she's cool, he's cool, but I can do better. And they forget about themselves because they ain't perfect either.
That's a fact.
That is
that's
absolutely true.
Wow, that's some good
That was
input.
great
So
insight.
that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
years ago, we appreciated what we had. and we stuck
Mhm.
by them. And now we're just all this perfection that's thrown out of in front of us, and it's really not perfection, but we think it is. So
I think that is valid. That is valid.
Yes, that was
You know, the one
great.
thing that he said was, we don't think about ourselves, because if you really think about what will serve you, right? We're getting with these people that look a certain way. You know, there are some people that, you know, not only doctoring pictures, they're doctoring themselves.
Yeah.
You know, they are, you know, making themselves into something that they really were not naturally created to be. So they themselves are out here, and people are drawn to that type of thing because, listen, this is where the world is right now, and there's nothing wrong. If you want to alter something about yourself, that's your choice. But for those that are looking for relationships, as he said, it becomes very hard because, you know, you see things out there and it's like, oh, well, I want this one to have that. Even for us ladies, you know, I mean, my preference in men, you know, I like a good looking man.
Yeah.
I do. I
Don't we
prefer
all?
them. I prefer them to be built nicely, you know, because I think that all men are beautiful. I think they are one of the
Yes.
most beautiful creations that God made. However, I do like a man that stands tall. You know, he doesn't have to be tall, but I want him to stand tall. I want his stature to be strong, because you can only stand strong when you feel strong, right? So it's a confidence thing. It wasn't always that way when I was a young one. I looked for certain things, but this 70% of couples that are breaking up within the first year, a lot of the reason is because some of the things that he mentioned. It's so easy to find something else, something that looks better. You want better. I mean, not necessarily finding it. Let me backtrack a little bit. You're not necessarily finding it, but
Usually
you
not
are looking
finding it.
for it.
And usually these men are not, they're looking, they always think there's something better than what they have. And they will go from woman to woman to woman, trying to find better. Meanwhile, the best they had was what they put to the side or
And right in front of their face.
right in the face.
Right in front of their face. Do you remember a time, Chica, we were talking, and I don't know if it was me who mentioned it or you mentioned it, and we were talking about build a man. If we can take, you know, like build a bear, like build a man. If we can take this piece from this one and that piece from another, and this one and this one, and this is personality, and this one's sensitivity.
One's adventurous, and this one, you know, yes.
Right. We would like to be able to create the perfect.
And you'll still find something you don't like about it.
I agree.
It's just the way it is. It's human nature.
It's
so true.
There's nothing. There's no such thing as perfection.
I agree.
I think, Chica, you just mentioned this, that you know, you keep looking for perfection. You keep thinking that there's going to be something better out there, and then before you know it, you're 57 years old and you ain't got no one.
Absolutely.
So you know, you better wake up, because I spent my whole life looking for something better and better and better, and I look back now and I let two amazing girls go when I was younger, and
the one that got away.
There's always one that got away.
There's always that one or that two. I look back, I dated a lot of girls, but there's one or two that I say to myself, you know what? I really screwed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, what was I thinking?
I got that same one or two that, you know, if I knew then, you know, my parents used to say, you're going to say that one day. If I knew what I know now. And, you know, the reality of it is I have come across some amazing people. I don't have a bad vibe with anyone that I've encountered along the way. Yeah, I'm calling it an encounter.
Encounter.
Thank you very much. You may use my word if you like. But I have not encountered a man who, after I have met them, dated them, spent time with them, that I couldn't even today speak to. You know, I don't have those, I don't harbor those type of ill feelings. Okay, just because it didn't work, it didn't work. So I didn't even look to build a man with these men. I looked at them as they were, and to the point that he was making just a minute ago, you know, we don't realize that maybe what we had in front of us was okay. It wasn't so bad. And I think that we do walk away from people because we need to feel like everybody else might feel. And you're looking at fakeness. You know, people pretend to be happy because they got a beautiful woman on their arm, and girls pretend to be happy because they got a fine man on their arm. And then you find out later on they were in a horrible
They have
situation.
no substance.
Nothing.
Or, they have nothing to offer. They were just a pretty face.
And I mean, these
That's it.
situations are horrible.
Yeah.
They're horrible because it leaves both, maybe one, but most times both people, it leaves you in a place of feeling as if you're not enough. You know, if someone doesn't commit to you, and I've heard men, don't get me wrong, men feel this same way.
Yes.
They don't understand why she's acting this way and why she can't just accept me for who I am. You know, it's not just one-sided here. We do it to the men. They do it to us. But this 70% break up within the first year, that is such a bother to me. I just think that just says so much about us and how we decide to have relationship. And I think that we should really, really think about it within ourselves, because we can't do anything. We can't be whole by adding a person. You know, and a lot of people, oh, he completes me. Oh, she completes me.
Yes.
You have to be completed first.
But in all fairness, you know.
Here you go with the fairness.
Yeah. You know, you need to go through some relationships because, you know, how are you going to appreciate when the right one comes along? And if every relationship worked out, there'd be no single people.
Wow. Okay, so we're preserving the single people now.
Yes.
We're preserving the single people.
We have a call.
We have a call. Hey, caller, this is Untamed Thoughts. Tell us who you are and where you're from.
Hi.
Hi.
I am Shalonda, and I'm calling from.
Hey, Shalonda, can you, if you have on your TV or your phone or something, if you can
Let me
turn the
turn
volume
it off.
down?
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay. Hello. Do you hear me
Hey.
now?
Hi.
Okay. So hi, I'm calling in from West Hempstead, Long Island. I'm still at work, ladies, listening in to you guys. You sound amazing.
Thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to just put my little spin on things. I was in a situationship, and I did not even know I was in one. So,
Really?
you know, we were dating. I was dating this guy. We were going out every week. I was coming over to his home, and, you know, like you said, I met his family, his friends. We were just, like, having a great time. And I just was under the impression that we were in a relationship.
Okay.
And I remember one time we were taking a ride because we were going like on the train. This time we just parked the car and went on the train because, you know, sometimes you like to take a train ride.
Right.
And on the train he told me like, oh, well, you know, you're not the only woman that I have. I'm actually dating 5 other females.
Oh, boy.
5.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, 5 other females?
Wow.
He said, and I remember his words exactly. He said to me, yeah, I know, I have a team, but don't worry, you're
team.
the coach.
So now we're playing
The
sports
coach.
with our emotion.
Wow.
Shalonda,
He
listen,
said I was the coach. I had to restrain myself.
I know you did.
And
It
Remember,
just
we're
so
on air.
happened
Train.
He said it on the train. So
Remember, we're on
he said it
air.
on the
We're on
train.
air.
So, no, he said it on the train. So, you know, I had to just cool myself down, you know, and I did that. And I just told him, I said, you know, this date will be our last.
And good for you. Good for you, Shalonda.
And
Good for you. Let me
thank
ask you
so
this
much,
question.
Uh-huh.
Let me ask you this question. Okay, so you said that he gave you this information while on a train and you're going to enjoy yourself. You know, I got the head movement going right now because
And
that
of course
just,
you did it in public.
absolutely, that just kind of bothers me
Yeah.
because I think that he should have and could have let you know before you got even a little bit vested in the relationship that you weren't the only one, to give you a choice. See, that's the other thing, people.
Which is what I said earlier.
We need choices. We should be able to choose whether we want to rock
Exactly.
with you or not.
Exactly.
If you got 5 other women, let me choose if I want to
wanna
be number
six.
6.
Okay.
I mean, I think that that's a little. I think that
I mean,
that's a
I
little
don't
crazy.
think he was trying to explain to me I was number 6. I do believe that he, you know, I actually was with him probably throughout the week, at least 3 times a week. So I think that I was more so in a higher bracket than that because, like I said, he said he had a team and I was the coach of the team.
So you were kind of number
to
one.
You were the starter.
Yeah.
You were the
I
starter.
wasn't there, but my thing was, I was a starting lineup. Okay. So at the end of the day, my thing is like, you can be in a situationship and not even know because one party may be expecting or, just believing that
Right.
we're in something more than we are and we're really not.
Right.
So,
Shalonda, listen, I thank you so much for calling in because let me tell you something. So many women and men out there need to hear what you just said. Number one, they need to hear the side of the person that's being told this.
Yes.
And they need to see how ugly it is for the person that did this. It does not sound good. It doesn't feel good, we know, for the person involved. And it sounds horrible. If you're out there doing these types of things, I mean, you really should stop. You got to be honest off the rip. We have to be honest. We got to do better.
Well, in his defense, he did tell me. He said, "I told you, not so many words, but I've always told you
not so many
that
words.
you weren't the only one.
Yeah.
Even though he took me out, showed me off, always put me in front lines as his girl. It was never the way I expected it that it was. And that evening that we went back, he begged me, to stay with him. Like,
of course
please
he did.
don't leave. Like,
of course he did.
Things are going to get better. And he just, and I just told him, I said, I wouldn't be true to myself if I stayed in something that was beneath me.
Wow.
So, as long as you think highly of yourself, I
Say
don't think that you
sis.
can ever be put in a situation that you don't want to be in. You have to stay true to who you are.
Absolutely.
Whether it's a situationship or a relationship, you have to stay true to yourself. And if someone is making a mockery of who you are, you have to always stay strong and let them know this is unacceptable.
Absolutely.
How much I cared about him was how much I had to leave. And I cried that evening and let him know, you will never make me into something that I'm not.
Good for you.
So,
listen, thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate that. That was Shalonda. That's Shalonda from. Thank you. That was Shalonda from West Hempstead and giving us just a true account of how this is, how this actually happens, how this works. It is so important that we understand how we're out here looking and sounding. I mean, that's a little raggedy, don't you think? Like,
a lot raggedy.
You're thinking that you're out, raggedy. You're thinking that you're out here. You're with this dude, and he's just the one, and he's saying, "No, I got 5 others." That's wrong. That's just wrong. I can't make that right because I should have the right to decide if I want to be in a situation like that. Don't pretend like we're in something that's good and exclusive, and then you want to tell me once I'm all in. I think that's wrong. Chica, you have anything else you want to say on this?
I was going to say something, but I feel like it needs to be a whole other show, so I'm gonna save it.
Oh no, you cannot. We can make it another show, but I want to hear this.
I was going to say, when it's casual dating, the whole purpose of dating is to find a partner. So you're going to date most people, but if you have someone out there thinking that they're the only one, that's a problem. Problem. Dating should be a topic.
Yes, because dating is dating is very different, guys, from having a relationship.
Yes.
I don't think that people realize that there is a difference in that. And I don't think we realize that until we have done it a little bit of time. Yeah. A young person coming out of the womb would not know that, but those of us who have experiences under our belts, we realize that relationships don't just happen. You date, you vet people, you figure out what you like, what you want, how you want it. And I think it's just very important that we remember that we must value ourselves, which I think is what both of the callers said on tonight. We have to value ourselves.
And I just want to say one thing is that's a perfect example of ladies. Don't give your body up so fast because I think there's nothing worse in the world, especially a woman, when she gives a man herself and then finds out something like this after she just gave him
That is
her. So
Yeah.
you really you have to hold off. You really do, because you have to make sure that you are in a relationship and not in a situationship. And you have to make sure you're in a relationship, one-on-one. And you have to make sure that you're not going to give yourself to a man and have them, you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
I do.
I have a question for you. How many times, or not how many times, but has that ever happened to you ladies? You know, you like a guy and then you finally give yourself to him, and then all of a sudden everything changes. He's acting weird now.
Absolutely.
Like, what happened? Everything was fine. I just gave you my body and now you're acting weird. So, oh man, you got to avoid that.
Yeah.
And the longer you make a man wait, the more he's going to respect you.
And that's coming from a man,
Oh,
ladies.
yeah.
Yes.
That's
Absolutely.
coming from a man. He is a good-looking man at that. And let me tell you, he's right.
We've all had, gone through experiences we learned. But, when you're a guy and you're immature, you will say anything in the world to get that woman in bed with you. And I look back at things I said, and I'm like, whoa, what the hell was I thinking? It's like, now I'm mature. I would never do that. You know what I'm saying? But guys will say anything. They'll tell you anything you want to hear. And once they get what they want, okay, now it's a different ball game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just, hang in there.
Yeah, save the cookies.
You can't get back what you give away.
That's a fact.
That is very true.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Yes.
And thank you for chiming in with that, because I think that's an important thing that we kind of dance around a lot, because it's a sensitive issue. There's no judgment here, because we've been through things that really we don't want people judging us for either. But it's good to know that there are other people out here that really, really, really are going through the same things that we're going through. Shout out to everyone that joined in. I'm looking at the list of people. Hey, y'all.
Hey,
thank you for tuning in. James, Danny, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And it's really, really important to understand that, hearing that from a man was very, very refreshing.
Yes.
Because I don't think us women are used to hearing that type of advice coming from a male. They are more okay with waiting than we think they are. That's another show.
That's definitely another show.
That's another show.
Yes.
But thank you so much for everyone that tuned in. It's my hope that you and your partner decide to engage in a relationship that is healthy for you. It's unfortunate that we come up with terms that define our relationships in such a negative manner, where we're handling each other's hearts incorrectly. So if you're in one of these situationships, reevaluate, refuel, refocus, and be revived, because love is out there for you. I promise you. Do not settle for less.
Yes.
Chica, what we talking about our next podcast? I think it's going to be...
What is it?
I think we're going to talk about, does the flavor of what we like change as we grow older?
I cannot wait to talk about this.
I know you can't. I know you can't. Listen, everybody, please tune in.
Yes.
In 2 weeks' time. We'll be back here. I'll be with Chica. I'm Miss B. We'll be back to talk about the flavors and do they change. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good night.
Have
We're
a good
out.
night. Thank you.